Hey guys, how are you? Welcome into a Wednesday morning edition of the Daily Juice Podcast. My name is Matt Perrault here on BettingPros.com. You can follow me on Twitter at SportsTalkMatt. You can follow BettingPros on Twitter at BettingProsNFL. We are here every single morning across every platform where you get your podcast, and now on YouTube as well if you want to watch the podcast. And the whole thing's being brought to you by BetMGM. Okay, so a couple things here right at the top of the podcast. First, I want to remind you guys about the Shaquille O'Neal autographed jersey that's going to be given away at the end of this month. So we're basically in the middle of May. If you have not gone to Apple and left a review, if that's where you listen to this podcast is Apple, do me a favor. We have about 962 reviews. I want to get to 1,000 by the end of the month. Can you help me do that? So if you're not entered into this contest, it's an autographed Shaquille O'Neal jersey. It's very, very cool. I keep on forgetting to bring it up. Maybe I'll have it up for tomorrow, and I'll show you guys to give you more incentive on YouTube as to why you should go and leave a review. Positive, negative. You take that review. You go to bettingpros.com/juice. You fill out the form, drop the picture in, and you are entered into the contest. And every contest from here on out, you will also be entered into with all the giveaways we do. So it's a really cool giveaway. It's a big one. Shaquille O'Neal autographed jersey is awesome. You get that thing framed. You put it up in your man cave. It's just going to look awesome. It's a talking piece. People are going to be like, oh my gosh, how did you get that? Really, really cool. I want it, all right? It's one of those things that, like, when it's here, I'm like, hey, I want that. So you should want this too. Leave a review on Apple. Get us to 1,000 reviews before we get to June, because June will be essentially the 12th month of the Daily Juice podcast. So if we can get to 1,000 reviews inside of one calendar year, that would be very, very cool. I can't believe we're almost July 7th will be our 1-year anniversary for the Daily Juice podcast. My gosh, huh? How fun. How much fun is this going to be going forward? I can't wait for football season, man. So fun. All right, so last night, I'm a little bit concerned about the plays today because of what happened last night. Because last night, I faded the public. Both basketball bets were fading the public. My prop bets were bad. It's going to be a little hard. Betting props in the playoffs is difficult, but I should just go with real chalky plays. I was going to play Jason Tatum, but the number was 32.5 for him for points. He scored 50. So I should have just said, fine, he's going to go crazy. Russell Westbrook, triple-double. Just big numbers, rebounds and assists. And I should have just listened to chalk and gone it, but I got inside my head a little bit and got too funky. So 0-2 in the player prop category for the NBA. But we go 2-0 with our picks by taking the Pacers, laying the 2.5 with Indiana, and then taking the money line with the Celtics, and really should have just laid the 2 points with Boston because they won the game by 18. This is what, when we're talking about fading the public, look at Charles Oliveira against Michael Chandler. Look at the Washington Wizards against the Boston Celtics. When you start to see the vast majority of people on Twitter, I'm talking about public, touts, everyone, okay? People who are making picks. If you see everyone on one side, go the other way. Seriously, go the other way. It's going to be profitable long term. The public does win, but 75% of the money was on Washington last night. Why? Why? Think about it. Boston was at home. They had the best player on the court. I went through it last night. Listen to the podcast last night. I laid it out pretty much in crystal clear language as to why Boston was going to win that game. And everything came in. They were the better team. Bradley Beal was banged up. Did not look like the typical Bradley Beal. Jason Tatum's the best player on the court. Better coach. Scott Brooks getting outcoached by Brad Stevens. Home crowd. Boston better team top to bottom. Okay? Boston wins, going away in a laugher. Tristan Thompson played really well. Kemba Walker was great. Yeah, take it. Absolutely, we'll take that every single time. Then, with Indiana, everyone was on the dog in that game. Everyone was out for Indiana, right? And then the number didn't move. This is something, as you guys get into this podcast, you start watching, we talk about these things. This is one of the fun things that I love to share with you guys, is because it's the same conversations I'm having with people in my circle, sports betting people, because everyone I was texting with yesterday kept on asking, why are the Pacers still favored? Karis LeVert goes out. You've got a bunch of questions about guys who aren't playing, but LeVert, their leading scorer, shooting guard, main ball handler, out. It's like, what? Huh. So he's out. Well, wouldn't it make a lot of sense if you're losing all these different players that Indiana should not have been the favorite in that game? But they were a favorite in that game. They close as a favorite in that game. And the reason, the books were telling you, Indiana's the better team. And then Doug McDermott scores 14 points in the first 5 minutes, becoming the first player in the NBA this year to score 14 points in the first 5 minutes. He was on fire, and the game was over. That was it. Threes went down, and Memphis had no answer, and they just kind of packed it in, and they're just like, okay. I mean, it was just a really unbelievable game. I was having flashbacks of Doug McDermott at Arch Madness with the Creighton Blue Jays just kind of going off and doing crazy. Charlotte, I called them Memphis. Charlotte. So, 144. The Hornets give up 144 points on the road, and now they'll take on the Washington Wizards coming up here in the elimination game for the play-in tournament coming up in 2 days. And, look, Washington should win. I think Washington's favored by 3.5 in that game, but that's just a Charlotte team that everyone was like, oh, they're playing so well, and look what happened, all the momentum coming into that. Same narrative that you had with Washington. Indiana wins going away. Boston wins going away. Okay? Fading the public is something I'm going to do a lot of. And remember, even everyone on the Discord channel, I was arguing with a bunch of people on the Discord channel. I was saying, guys, I'm sorry, you're calling me a homer, but I'm telling you, it is not. Don't ride with Charlotte and Washington. Don't ride with the masses. And you rode right off a cliff, and the books set the trap, and everybody took it. So be very careful when it comes to the dogs. Favorites go 2-0. They cover both games in game one or day one of the NBA play-in tournament. Now, the over did not hit for Tampa in Florida. It was a 3-1 win for Tampa. I had over 6, so that game came way under. I'm going to pause the totals for a little bit here today because I'm a little bit concerned about what we're going to see here. And I think there are a couple of games that could go either way, over or under. So I'm not jumping up and down. At the time of taping right now, Vegas leads 2-1 over Minnesota. And I was going to be on the Vegas Golden Knights, and then Match Pacioretty is not in uniform today, so I didn't know. And then goal scored by Minnesota. Vegas answered right back, and then they got the go-ahead. They're up 2-1 now in the third period in a must-win game for the Vegas Golden Knights. Again, the under seems to be the play. I'm really curious to see, do we see fives get hung with Vegas and Minnesota at some point? And when that happens, we're going to bet the over. It's just going to be kind of an automatic. Pittsburgh and New York, that was a 5 for a little bit, and then the number got bet over, and it closed at 5.5, and the final score between Pittsburgh and New York and the Islanders was 2-1. So unders in all 3 of the games last night. Maybe it's a big overnight coming up tonight. I'm just not sure about that, but let's get to the picks and plays here coming up for tonight. Again, 3 plays, 2 in the NBA, 1 in the NHL. I hate these plays. Just going to tell you right now, I've made these bets. I don't like them. So, I don't know how to describe it. You can fade me if you want. You can follow me if you want. I went 2-0 in the NBA last night, so maybe I'm good to go 2-0 again. Hopefully, I'm going to go 2-0 again, but let's just start with the first game of the night, and it's the Spurs and the Memphis Grizzlies. So the Memphis Grizzlies played really poorly against the Golden State Warriors on the road. They're at home now, okay? There's been a little bit of a ping-ponging going on here. The number has been 4, pretty steady. And then I got it at 3.5 at the Westgate last night. And so shop around here. I don't hate 4. I played 3.5. So the official play is going to be 3.5 for Memphis against San Antonio, but I'm not sure you're going to need it. Memphis is 42-30 to the number. They've lost 3 games in a row, however, to the number. They're 1-4 to the number over the last 5. They're 3-7 to the number over their last 10. But San Antonio's not much better. 2-1 over the last 5. 4-5-1 over the last 10. But on the road, San Antonio is 23-12-1 to the number. However, at home, Memphis is 20-16. If you go back and look at some of these games that took place this year, and it's hard to kind of do that because different guys were available. The first game of the year, these two teams played, and San Antonio won by 12 on the road, okay? We are a long ways away from that game, way back at the beginning of the season. So it's hard to kind of go, yeah, let's take a look at some of these games that happened earlier in the year because, well, a lot of these games against Memphis happened on the 23rd of December, and then they played a back-to-back in San Antonio on the 30th of January and the 1st of January. Both games won by Memphis by 17 and by 31. And they played the fourth game. Did they play 4 or 3 games? They played 3 games this year. So 2-1 Memphis was. Lost at home and won both games on the road at San Antonio. And here is a team in Memphis where they came into that game against Golden State red hot. They had won 5 straight games. And then they laid a huge egg and they lost by 12. So the good news is Steph Curry's not playing in this game. The good news is you're not going to have Dylan Brooks in foul trouble. And the good news is that pretty much Memphis should win this game going away. I laid the 3.5 points here with Memphis against San Antonio. And again, I think home teams, look at the 2 home teams yesterday. They both win going away. I don't think Memphis kills San Antonio, but I think they're angry. And I think they understand that, look, this is a chance for us to kind of rise up here, get a victory. We got to win 2 games now because we're the 9 seed, not the 8 seed. So protect our home court and then see who winds up losing in the next game after that, see who we wind up playing. So I think this is a Memphis team that's got more talent. I'm not so sure San Antonio really wants to be in this game. Just like I think Charlotte wanted to end the season. They didn't really seem like they wanted to be there. And much like Charlotte, going into the game last night, Charlotte kind of stumbled down the stretch. San Antonio has lost 4 of 5 outright. And they lost by 37 to Phoenix, lost by 12 to Brooklyn, lost by 22 to Portland. I'm taking the better team here. The team that's hotter, the team that had kind of stubbing of the toe. I think Memphis is angry. I'm going to lay the 3.5. Memphis minus 3.5 for a half a unit against the San Antonio Spurs. Game 1, pick 1. Game 2, Warriors-Lakers. I missed on the 4. I should have gotten involved with this when it was 4. It's 5. I actually don't think it's going to matter. I think the Lakers are going to give the Warriors a beating, and there's a couple reasons why. The Warriors on the road against the number are 14-22. At home, they're 23-13. They are a totally different team at home. And they can lose this game and go back home and play the very same Memphis Grizzlies team that they just beat at home. Okay? They've covered 6 straight games, however, the Golden State Warriors have, and all but, let's see, 3 of the 5 have been at home for Golden State. Okay, so that's the Lakers. Sorry. So they've won. All of them are at home. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those games are at home. They covered all 6. Okay, great run. End of the year. Last time they played on the road against New Orleans, they lost by 5. This Laker team has LeBron and Anthony Davis. Defensively, the Lakers are still an incredibly talented team, and this is one of the big problems here for the Golden State Warriors. You have Steph, and then what else? The Lakers are second in the NBA, giving up just 106.8 points per game. They are for 3-point percentage, they're 4th in the NBA at 35.2% given up. They are 9th in the NBA in opposing 2-point percentage. They are 4th in opposing shooting efficiency. It is hard to score on the LA Lakers, and they're going to lock up on Steph Curry. You take away Steph and you make anyone else beat you, and I just don't think they've got enough talent, and Anthony Davis becomes the big key. Lakers at home, Lakers laying 5. LeBron, I think, has a big game. You get playoff LeBron, you get playoff Anthony Davis. I know Curry can do some magical things. I just don't think he does the magical thing tonight enough against this defensive effort for the Lakers. I think they put the clamps down on Steph. And I think you wind up with a Laker win by double digits. I just think the Lakers, this is where they start to defend their title. This is what they do. They're going to be angry about being in this play-in game, and they have a chance to go and be the 7 seed, win this game. They get a couple of days off to become the 7 seed, and I think the Warriors are just up against it. They're just not a good team on the road, and it's eventually going to come back and be a problem for them because they just haven't been good enough on the road to beat teams like this in these moments. And again, the public is going to be on the Warriors. The public, they're going to take the 5 points. It's going to be a very big public play. Warriors are 14-22 straight up on the road. Lakers are 21-15 at home. But Curry, even averaging 32 points a game, and who I think is the MVP, even though everyone tells me I'm wrong, I'm going Lakers -5. I'll lay the 5 points. It's the most readily available number, but I don't think it matters. And Lakers win this game going away. Okay, so we're going favorites again. Favorites went 2-0 yesterday. I'm going back here with home teams and home favorites, laying 5 and laying 3.5 with Memphis and 5 with the Lakers here in the NBA. I will have 2 more NBA player props unless I go, and if I go 0-2, I might pause until we get to the full NBA, until we get to the full slate of NBA games and I have a full menu of players to pick from. It's difficult when I'm only limited to 2 games, so it's hard to find those player props when there's 2 games to pick from. So it's a little bit of a slim pickings for the player props, but I will come back, hopefully bounce back after the 0-2 night last night to have some better player props for us coming up here off the Betting Pros prop bet cheat sheet, which you guys can go and find off bettingpros.com. Click on NBA, click on prop bet cheat sheet, and you can see a whole plethora of guys you can bet on. Okay, one NHL hockey play to tell you about, and I don't know what to do with Boston, okay? The under 5.5 seems like a very smart play, and I very well may add Boston under 5.5, or I may just lay the -165 with Boston. I'm just a little bit concerned about the Capitals and their ability to score on the power play, and Tuukka Rask being a little bit On the road, the Capitals were 19-7-1-1. That's pretty good. The Bruins were 18-7-2-1 at home, okay? So it's kind of like, all right, the over-under to the over, 3-5-2 for the Capitals, 5-3-2 for the Bruins over the last 10. So it feels like the under. It feels like the Bruins. I just couldn't come around to it yet. Much like the Vegas game, I can't get a handle on it. I'm going to watch it and really enjoy it and pull for the Bruins, and I'm pulling for Vegas. I just couldn't find an angle to bet on it. The only thing I can do tonight in the NHL is something that I absolutely hate doing, and that's a 2-team money line parlay. But how do you lay -185 with the Carolina Hurricanes? They're just so much better than Nashville, and they're at home. How do you take a -320 money line for Colorado? How do you bet that? You can't bet that. It just doesn't make any sense. You can't bet it. So I'm just taking the money line for Carolina and the money line for Colorado, and I'm just going to make a half a unit play. It's +105, okay? If one team loses, the whole thing gets blown up. I get it. Nashville may come roaring back and use some of that playoff experience to win. But if this game was, if Nashville was at home, I wouldn't do this. Carolina's at home. If St. Louis was at home, I wouldn't do this. But Colorado's at home. Carolina and Colorado are just much better than who they're playing. They have better goaltending. They have better power plays, better special teams, better offense, better defense, just better in every single way. And if Carolina wins, we need that Colorado win to keep that sweep bet alive for us here when it comes to Colorado, trying to get 3-0, and then in Game 4 we could do the hedge that I've talked about because it's +400 odds coming back on Colorado to sweep St. Louis. So that's another reason why I think you can kind of jump in here with Colorado just to win the game. It might be sweaty. It might be crazy. I thought about the puck line, but it's the playoffs, and I don't know. Wacko weird things can happen. Again, I hate this bet, okay? But I want to have a hockey play going, and I went back and forth, and all I can do is kind of hold my nose here and take Carolina and Colorado money line parlay, 2 legs. It's +105, so you get some plus money on this on top of that to get 2 vastly superior teams over their opposition, and just hope that they win both their games, and it's 2-0 after tonight. So again, I don't like it, but I did it, and it's an official play. I'm not selling it all that well, but that's the podcast is to tell you what I bet, and this is what I bet today. And this is, right now it's my only hockey play of the day with Carolina and Colorado moneyline parlay, just because they are much better than who they are playing. Okay, so our picks here for us: 3 plays, half a unit, Lakers -5, Memphis -3.5, moneyline parlay, Carolina and Colorado. Player props coming in the Discord channel, bettingpros.com/chat. To get into the Discord channel, bettingpros.com/chat. Or if you're on YouTube, there's a link on the whole list that you'll find right below this video on YouTube that you guys can get into. if you need help to get into the Discord channel. My name is Matt Perrault. I will talk to you later today for the Bets NBA player props and on the Discord channel at Sports Talk Matt on Twitter and the Discord channel. It's the Daily Juice podcast right here on BettingPros.com, brought to you by BetMGM.